Hey guys, I'm so excited for you to be able to see this interview I did with Tina Anyoha. She is a dear friend of mine. She's super beautiful and spiritual and incredibly smart. And I'm so excited to be able to start sharing these interviews with different professionals and different backgrounds to help you on your journey to wholeness. This is all about education, which I'm very passionate about because I believe that once people are educated, they are able to go and do the things that they need to do with responsibility, intentionality, and of course for themselves. So she is an amazing person. She is an alumni of Georgia State University where she got her Master's of Science in nursing, guys. This girl is intelligent, okay? She has worked in the medical field in the last 10 years. So she knows what she's talking about. She's seen a lot, and she's so passionate about preventative medicine, how nutrition impacts the body and the underserved. She works right now in hospital and emergency medicine, and she loves to travel. She's even been able to merge her love of travel with medicine, the underserved, and Jesus, going on medical mission trips abroad. Okay, this girl I told you is freaking spiritual. She's amazing. And when she's not doing those things, she loves hiking, being outdoors near water, doing water things, being with people that she loves, decorating for parties, and she's a huge advocate for living life to the full. John 10:10. So without further ado, let's jump on in and meet this amazing, incredible girl. And I can't wait for you to walk away with something that's going to impact you and help you on your journey to wholeness. Hey guys, I'm so happy that you all are just here to be able to watch and listen to an amazing woman who is a dear friend of mine, and I'm so excited to be able to step into a glimpse of her life, her perspective, just both what she's experienced in healthcare and what she does for a living, both here stateside and also abroad with the medical mission trip that she does. So Tina, thank you so much for doing this interview. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
She's amazing, as you heard before, so I'm so super excited to hear what she's going to be able to teach us and be able to walk away and learn and see what we can change in our own life to be able to continue on our journey towards wholeness. So what sparked your interest in what you do? Was it like one significant thing, or did you always want to do it?
Well, I think it started from my mom. She is a nurse, and so like my whole family healthcare. My sibling, my sister works at the same hospital I do. My other sister's in medical school. My brother's a pharmacist, and so I think it just kind of started from my mom. But then like a personal growth, I think it just came with just time and experience in the field, like truly being able to see people life change, or being able to be a part of like just helping someone, like a spark come in somebody's eye when they have better outcomes, or they grow in understanding, or I love being able to inspire and like encourage and empower people. And so I think that's truly where my interest comes from, being able to help people.
That's so cool. And it's so crazy because it's completely opposite from how I got into what I want to do in terms of physical therapy. Mine was by accident. I was originally a broadcast news major.
Wow.
And so, completely different. But seeing how a physical therapist transformed a friend's life when she was going through a really hard time inspired me to say, I want a job where I actually help people, I inspire them. I see a change just based on like what I know, what I'm doing for my job. And so it's so cool that we have such an amazing family full of people who do that. That is so cool. So what setting do you currently work in? And like what types of chronic conditions do you see more commonly in that setting?
So I work in emergency medicine, and I also work in hospital medicine. And so of course emergency medicine, you'll see emergencies, and so a lot of times it could be minor things, but it can also be the chronic diseases, and it'll be an exacerbation of that. So they'll start in the emergency department, and I'll also see them on the floor in the hospital. And so it might be from diabetes, but your diabetes isn't under control, so you're coming in because your sugar's so high and you have symptoms from that. Or it might be somebody who has high blood pressure or heart disease, and what is the result of that if it's not managed? Might come in because of a heart attack, and you have to manage that or make sure you're not having a heart attack, or other people with heart failure. And a lot of times because your blood pressure maintains high, you're not having good function and pumping of your heart. It weakens. And so then you have volume overload. So a lot of times it can be chronic illnesses, but it exacerbates if it's not well managed or other factors kind of contribute. So I see an array of different things.
Wow. That's like very intense, because I see people more after those things are controlled. They've gotten the medication they need, and they're okay to kind of go back to their regular routine of every day. And you're seeing them right at the most critical stage, basically. And that's really helpful, because they need your guidance in order to get stable. So it's interesting, just some of even the chronic diseases that you mentioned. So I've just been doing research on chronic conditions and what the state of our country is, and it's so crazy. So I just wanted to read this statistic, and it's from the National Health Council, that says that approximately 133 million Americans, representing more than 40% of the total population of this country, have a chronic disease. And by 2020, that number is projected to grow to an estimated 157 million, with 81 million having multiple chronic conditions, not just the one. I just think that's crazy.
That's like a lot of people.
That's almost half of our entire population having a chronic condition. And so I feel like people can hear these statistics and think, that can never happen to me, that won't be me, or I don't really care, but not realizing that the statistic is connected to a real person with a real story. So I was curious to know, what are typical occupations that people had, ethnicities, even religion, socioeconomic status of these people that you're seeing, because I feel like people need to know the connection of the varied stories that these people are. It's not just a number, you know?
And it's not. I think it's everyday people. I'll see people coming in from work with their suit and tie on. I'll see, stay-at-home moms who are impacted. I'll see, and the environment that I work is just an array. I work in Marietta, Georgia, so you have an array of African Americans, white people, just everyone. When you look at the books, you'll see different things. Like, for example, diabetes. That's a disease that impacts, you'll see it larger in the African American population or Hispanic population. So, but particularly where I work, there's just an array of different cultural backgrounds and things that are impacted. But a lot of people are affected, just in regards to like socioeconomics, for example. People who might not be able to afford a diet that consists of regular fruits and vegetables, and we know that's necessary and needed. But it just varies because of the side of town that I work on, I think.
And so since you've been able to like see so many different walks of life come through the doors, and that you've been able to engage with and help, what has been a very memorable patient experience that has stuck with you, even if it was here or on your medical mission trips, that you were just like, wow, this will never leave me, that it just really impacted you?
I think I like how you brought up the medical mission trip. That was so amazing and so really life-changing for me, and made me so grateful to encounter people who have nothing, and we're just so grateful to have help. And there was one particular woman who walked miles and miles and miles to get health care because it wasn't readily available there in Tijuana, Mexico. And she had been suffering from recurrent headaches, and finally we checked her blood pressure, and it was high. Extremely elevated. We're able to start her on medication, and we later got a report about like how she had the headaches that went away and how she was doing lots better. But I think the stories that impact me the most are the ones where people turn around, like people who you'll see them at their very worst, and they come back and they're better. And I think another story from the emergency department that stands out is a young girl who came in. She was texting. Don't text and drive. She was texting and driving.
Don't text and drive. We have a law in the state of Georgia for a reason. So don't text and drive.
So, oh my goodness, texting and driving, and resulted in a terrible accident of where her face was smashed in, her arm was completely gone, and ended up being admitted to the hospital, had physical rehab, and she recovered. She woke back up again, was able to function without the arm that she had lost. And it's those kind of stories, whether it's from like your chronic illness turning around, or an accident like this turning around. I think those are my most memorable, like to see people actually get through this and recover.
I'm like stuck on this girl. Was she like young, like 20s?
She was 18. She was 18.
Oh,
it was,
her life was literally just beginning, and now she has to learn a whole new life.
I will never forget that story. I will never forget her and what the trauma room looked like in that moment.
That's crazy. Did you get to ever talk to her and see maybe where she was emotionally after she turned around?
Unfortunately not. I wish I had the opportunity for that.
I would just be curious to see what her like mindset was after all of that.
Right. I know situations like that have to change you from the inside and obviously out, but
that's crazy. So I feel like anyone could hear any of those stories from your mission trips or here and connect with them in some way, or think that could be my daughter that did that, or that could be me. I sent a quick text today, and just even hearing how the medication helped that woman be able to bring her blood pressure down, and that she was able to do better. I'm sure she had family to help and serve, and she's probably able to do that now without feeling so awful. So with seeing all these different things, what has been a big takeaway for you in seeing the different facets of health in terms of the psychosocial factors, things like that you now have maybe a different viewpoint of than before when you initially started working?
I think being able to see a lot of health conditions from their very worst to still a chronic illness or still a problem, but at its best, I think that what I've learned is that we don't have to be passive players in our health. Like,
I like that.
We can, we can try, like we can learn, we can, just commit to wanting to get better. And I mean, of course it just depends on what disease it is, but for instance, diabetes, like I can see that where someone comes in, stubs their toe, and because they don't manage their diabetes well, that ends up in their whole leg being cut off.
Wow.
Or, if somebody is committed to diet and exercising and eating well, they don't have to get to that stage. And so I think just knowing that like we do have a role in our health, because with health it's a lot of times it's genetic, but there's always the environmental factor that comes into play that creates the disease. And so when we can change those modifiable ones, the ones that actually can be changed, like our health outcomes can be different. I think that's the biggest thing, to be able to, I can actually see it. I've seen it in people who've actually, as I was talking about before, it's completely turned around. And I've seen like the worst case, but knowing that, wow, we can do something about this.
Be active in it. Not just kind of like, I feel like some people get the diagnosis and then let that be their destiny in terms of where they're gonna go. They're like, well, if I have this, so instead of saying, what can I do to combat it, or take my life back, and be able to not let this be a crutch or anything like that. So I love we don't have to have a passive role. That's so cool. So I'm just curious in terms of like how being around this, seeing the different stories, has helped you in your own life in going after more healthier lifestyle. And what are your challenges that you have with that, having a healthier lifestyle, and ways that you try and fight against the challenges?
Right. I have seen so much, just in working in an array of different environments. And I think almost like, you can have like kind of like a healthy fear or something. Like, wow, like I don't want that to happen. Or so if somebody comes in with a heart attack, they have, a lot of times you have different like risk factors for it. Like you're a smoker, or you have high blood pressure, or there's different things that kind of contribute to a health illness. And so, or just knowing how, okay, if you have a family history of something, you might be more at risk for something. And so for me, it helps me to evaluate, okay, I know high blood pressure runs in my family. I know diabetes runs in my family. at this age now, I want to be proactive in wanting to exercise or eat correctly. And so just being able to see, as we were talking about before, the best and the worst, and not wanting to get to the worst, wanting to, you know, manage those things before they even present themselves. I think it's motivated me to, you know, to maintain a healthy lifestyle. And of course there are challenges, like my schedule, for example. I work 7 days on and 7 off days.
I still can't get over that.
Girl.
when she told me that, I literally was like, oh, I'm not complaining.
Listen, it can be challenging. It can be challenging to work that 10-hour shift and want to go to the gym. Like, I feel like my whole work week, I don't want to do it. But having to like really like push myself, really push myself. So that can be challenging. Like, it just, it certainly takes a level of dedication, which isn't always easy, but I'm so grateful, like, for the past like year or so, I've been able to be more consistent than I've been in the past, and so I'm just trying to keep it up. But it can be hard. But
that's so good. Yeah, I can't. I feel like the 7 days off, I would be sleeping 4 to 7.
Oh my god.
I'm like, I don't know how you do it, girl.
Yeah.
So I am like really big on trying to get more education right now to African Americans, and so what are just your initial thoughts about African Americans and their health?
So that is a great question. I think that I was telling you, just an array of different patients. And I think there's so many different factors that come into play. Yes, culturally, and kind of what people's trust levels toward physicians and things like that. I think that has a great role, socioeconomics and culture, and how like does a person have access, you know, to certain things that they need for their health. And I think there's a big education piece, because if there is mistrust for the physicians, it's like, where else are you getting your education from? And so I think for me, it's just like, I have wanted to be just more intentional about I take a little extra time, take the time for my patients and truly like explain and see what the barriers are.
Yeah,
you know?
I completely agree that there's so many different barriers for African Americans, as well as the mistrust. I feel like I've heard that a lot with patients, especially working with coworkers of a different race. Sometimes my patients of African American race want to be with me and only me, even though I'm not even the doctorate of physical therapy. I'm a physical therapist assistant, but because I look like them, they just have a natural inclination that they trust me. So I completely agree with that as well. So, you know, I'm really big on practicals in no matter what facet of my life, spiritually, health. So what are some tools that you typically give patients to just really help facilitate them towards a healthier lifestyle?
Gotcha. So I think it's so important to provide education. You can't just say, oh, go manage your diabetes, and just like you were saying, like practicals. And so it's usually always starts by a conversation to whatever their illness is, and then providing resources. Like the CDC is an amazing resource, but I think what the key is like a person taking their own ownership. You can talk to somebody all day about something, but if they don't take ownership, nothing's gonna change. And so I always encourage patients doing their own research. And again, like the CDC is a great place to start. Google, I mean, of course you have to check the site and see how reputable it is, but just getting in there and just starting from somewhere. And then when they do that, from that aspect, they can a lot of times take it to their primary care doctor, compare like what they've learned and things like that. And that can be another way to check the validity of the site. But I think just initially taking that initial step to just let me get on here and look about what it says about high blood pressure, and how much should I actually be exercising, and how much should I be drinking, how much water should I be drinking, things like that. But there is something, studies show, there is something that happens when we take ownership of our health. And putting in the research and putting in the time to look, that impacts our health outcomes in a good way.
Wow.
Yeah.
It just goes back to what you were saying about not having a passive role. And I just feel like it's a responsibility.
Yeah.
And I think if people aren't going to do it for themselves, do it for your children, your family,
right.
people who care about you.
Exactly.
Because there's a void that goes away if you're not here on this earth anymore due to a chronic condition. And so I wanted to just thank you so much for offering just your perspective, your views, your recommendations, and I really hope that somebody gets something out of this, because you see it every day.
Absolutely.
And it's one of those things where I think the benefit of having this epidemic in our country right now is that we get to see a foreshadow of what bad choices will lead us.
Yes.
And that we get to right now be active in our health to change that outcome.
Right.
And I just been thinking bad habits destroy you over time, but good habits invest in you.
Yeah.
So I think I really want to just leave you all with that. What good habits are you doing to invest in yourself? You know, if you have bad habits, don't get overwhelmed by trying to do this huge plan of changing everything. Just make one simple change and watch the results of that, and that will continue to motivate you. Like Tina said, just taking even the active responsibility and doing the research will help you to want to equip yourself to go after every other facet in your life that's a bad habit. So thank y'all so much for watching. I appreciate it. Thank you, Tina, for being here and sharing with everyone. Remember, we're inspiring you on this journey to wholeness, and it's a journey, and we're all in this together, and it's not perfect.
I'm so proud of you.
I have like 50 different